Washington Post, who, by the way, today announced it's laying off 10% of its staff. 240 people there at the Washington Post will be laid off. 10% of the paper's staff, of course, owned by one of the richest men in the world, Jeff Bezos. And the reason for that is, well, nobody's reading the Washington Post anymore. I wonder why. You know, sometimes when you expose all that bias while trying to pretend that you're something else entirely, well, it doesn't sit so well with people. The paper's lost $100 million basically in the last year. Since 2021, I'm going to share some of these numbers with you. Audience down 28%, subscriptions off 15%, print revenue down 10%, digital ads down 30%. I mean, I guess you just can't be a mouthpiece for the CIA and expect that everybody's going to believe you and want to subscribe to you and hear your opinion on things, right? Look, I mean, the Washington Post has become part of the problem. Legacy media is so much part of the problem. And when you've got government trying to feed a narrative from the top down, telling you that, oh, Hunter Biden's laptop is nothing but Russian disinformation, misinformation fed to us courtesy of Rudy Giuliani via the Russians. And then it turns out, no, Hunter Biden's laptop was all real. And he was under investigation by the FBI. When you try and sell us that storyline, or you try and tell us that there was no chance in HELL that coronavirus could have ever come from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, while the Wuhan Institute was actually studying coronavirus bat viruses, including with some $600,000 in U.S. taxpayer funding. Well, you know what? People get a little tired of that. Yeah, because you sit there with your journalist thing with the capital J and people figure out you're really not all that. And you don't really know what you're talking about. You're just being spoon-fed something by whatever administration or opposition, because that's what the Democrats were when Trump was in power. Opposition wants you to print, and they cut off their subscription. Again, with authenticity being really the most important thing right now. It's hard to find. Is it not? I mean, because if you're authentic as a journalist and you work for a big organization, and if you dare to say, like I did, hey, you know what? You need a strong economy to fight this thing, coronavirus, that is. We should not be shutting down the economy. We should not be seeing the market tank by 2,000 points. And beware, the left will use this as an issue when our economy tanks, which I predicted it would, even though it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have, believe me, because we never should have shut things down. We should have taken care of the people that needed to be taken care of. When you say things like that and your network is like, well, then it reminds everybody, it reminds them that authenticity, again, is what matters. And so these big institutions, whether they be big newspapers or whether they be the New York Times, there's a reason why Barry Weiss left the New York Times. She was kind of sick of it, right? Because she didn't appreciate the micromanagement that they had on their reporters. I mean, it's a very new day, and I think good journalists with strong convictions, and hopefully they have them. You gotta. I'm sorry, you can give both sides, and I try to always give you guys both sides. You know that, but to pretend like I don't have a point of view would be silly. Or to pretend that, I'm one side of the, like, it just doesn't make any sense. And I'd add this, if I don't have a point of view, then what the heck am I doing here? Like, why would you subscribe to me? Why would you listen? Why would you watch? Why should I even bother? A journalist, a writer should be thought-provoking. They should look at every story and come away with a sense of their own conviction. That's what I do. I look, I observe, I research. I try to figure out, what do I think? I have to know what I think before I come on and explain it to you. Even if I'm going to explain every single side and, we can talk. I know it's not fair to the Palestinian people, believe me, and it is a tragedy and it's going to be awful. It's just going to be awful. But I also know what just happened. and what transpired in Israel, unprovoked. And I say that unprovoked because, again, I look at what Israel has done over the last however many years. I remember when there was the war, maybe back in 2006, and they were doing everything they could to really, get, as I said, they dig up graves and move them out of these Palestine areas. And what has it resulted in? Just more hatred. So the whole containment theory has not really worked. It just hasn't worked. And so, sure, maybe down the road you'll need a Marshall Plan and this, that, and the other. But the first thing you got to do is you got to get rid of the terrorists. And unfortunately, it's going to come with a lot of bloodshed. And I guess we're just realists on that front. But I have to have a point of view. I do have a point of view. And you know what? The Washington Post, it pretends that it's all things, but it has a point of view. And that's straight from the administration. And that's why subscriptions are down. And that's why digital advertising is down. Because you know what? There's no authenticity there anymore. Hey everyone, Trish Regan here. If you enjoyed that clip, please do me the favor of subscribing to the channel. Just hit that little subscribe button right over there. Did I do that right? Not quite, but you know where it is. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you get the alerts, and I'll see you back on the show.